Morning, everyone. So this video is about a recap of Who Ate My Wings, an 8-man team event. I took orcs, as you can see here. Let's just say, starting off the bat, I made 2 videos about my dislike for my list, and I didn't release them during the tournament, and then, so after the tournament, I still haven't changed my mind. I do not like my list. Am I glad I tried it? Yeah. I think it opened my eyes to some things, and we'll go through specifics about what I didn't like and kind of how my games went and my overall thoughts on orcs and where I stand with them right now. So we'll focus on the tournament first and then go to maybe a broader conversation. So the tournament, 5 games, I don't think I did very well. I scored 48, which is just below average. I'd say I faced armies that were very... I don't think they're not red matchups, like they weren't unwinnable, and they even probably aren't even orange. I think there was always a risk to them, and I think with better play, I probably would have got more points. I think there were moments in both games where I could have got a lot less points and could have got a lot of more points, and so I don't feel like my scores are that unfair, given how the matches went. So we'll actually go through real quick who I played against and quick thoughts. So in my first game, I played against this Sylvan Elf list. Lots of shooting and a Div Master, which, as you can tell or probably guess, against a my idol BSB, it's very scary, and even the spider and the other idol, it's pretty good against it. I mean, even 30 archers shooting at an idol pings wounds here and there, and then maybe it just gets killed, right? Treemen are pretty good against idols because they have a better tree attack than I do, and also pretty good against the spider because the Tree Father hits it on 3s, and it can tank a lot of the spider a little bit well. So this was one of the 10s. No, I got 12 because I won scenario. But it didn't feel like that. It felt really bad. And I wouldn't say lucky, but he charged into my bus of heroes and bounced off it. I have a lot of res and I'm an Apocalypse Lord, so it's not crazy, but it helped a lot. Then the second game I played... I know the list I played. It was Conrad's Empire. That's right. So it was Peter Ritter, who is an ETC winner, playing Conrad's list. He stole the list. Again, a matchup which I think he actually had it as a bad matchup, and I had it as a bad matchup. I think I can see it going both ways. Like, I think if I get in there, I can certainly see it being rough. But at the same time, he has 2 cannons, a bunch of lethal strikes versus the spider, or just, a bunch of shots, period, versus the idols. I mean, the Inquisitor with rerolls and D3 wounds is super good against an idol because all he needs is a 6 with rerolls to wounds, and it's D3 wounds, and I only have 6 wounds, plus crossbows and stuff. So this game was just pretty defensive. I think I had a moment where I had to make a non-swift rerollable 9 or something, and maybe the game opens up, but I missed it, and it was just, I couldn't do it from there. I mean, there's a point, I know there's a point in this game where I just sat there and was like, well, we're gonna sit here, and I'm gonna try to get some points. It just didn't work out. I had some close moments, I think, in this one, per se. Maybe could have got a couple more points, maybe could have got the scenario. But that being said, it was probably a fair 10-10, given everything. Then we went on to play Poland. Where's Poland? This one, right? Yeah, and I played against this list. Honestly, it was probably my best matchup on paper. And I talked to him, and I played this Thomas before. So I got a 7 because I lost scenario in the end. It was secure. We talked, and there was definitely moments in this. He triple charged my bus with the 2 big heroes and the Kestrels, and lost the first round of combat. Though I will be fair, the dragon was an 8, which is obviously makeable. But if he misses that dragon, it's like really bad, I think, because I don't think he can beat me from there. I definitely took some wrong spells. There was other moments in this game too. I mean, it's hard to say. I got kind of lucky that the Tree Father against my big spider missed all his tree whacks like 3 times in a row. He rolled a 1 or 2. So I mean, that's lucky for me. I probably should have done more wounds. I mean, he could die in a round or 2, just by spiking up my poisons or the D3 +1 wounds on the venom. So again, it was a 13-7 I lost scenario. It's just, I mean, this was probably my best matchup on paper, I would say. He did go first, which we talked about being pretty big for him. I think if I go first, it's a lot harder for him. Again, I don't actually think I deployed my army very good in this one. I really bound myself up a bit. Then I played against Can't Wait to Be Wings. And I played the KOE list. I mean, nothing special about this list. It's big knight units and 2 flying dukes with druidism. I mean, I wouldn't say anything super special happened. My spider got charged by a questing lance. I killed like 0 because he had 4 up regen, which I still should kill some. I was like toughness 7 and he did like 5 wounds. I mean, again, my chance to open up the game with the spider, because like it was flagged. So I killed a scoring unit with a spider. He got flanked by the questing knights with nothing to help. I had toughness 7. He got 4 regen off. I did 0 wounds. I held at least, but I only had 2 wounds left because he did like 5 with like needing 3 plus 5 plus. I was like, oh shit. He didn't kill me the next turn, but then I failed stubborn. Again, and then like some shit happened. I won the scenario and we tied because he killed more than I did, right? What? Yeah, because I didn't kill like anything because I just basically hid in the corner after that. Because I mean, the druidism, yeah, I hit the Duke turn 1 and got rid of the tabard, but then he just healed him back up and then he hit him behind a rock, pretty much. It was a pretty defensive game. They were up pretty good in the round right then, so tying wasn't dumb. I mean, he didn't really come at me. He kind of did, but again, just a tough list to kind of get points off of. Hard to go in on that. And then last round, we played Ukraine, and I took the vermin swarms. I mean, the vermin demon is so good versus my list. It's a div master that moves 16 inches. I have 3 giant monsters. 2 dreadmills is pretty good versus the spider hero. I got a 9 because I won scenario. I lost scenario, but I killed a lot of points. He didn't kill a lot in the end. It was funny this game because I charged this unit with my trolls, and I got lucky that he failed the rerollable 9 break check. Though to be fair, given some circumstances, I almost wanted him to help. But what happened was I had to chase him. I had to go after him because it's 750 points and a scoring unit. But my trolls went so far that they failed stupidity the next turn because I had no general. I got my general in range of them, but I couldn't get my BSB in range. I failed stupidity again, and because of the scenario, I couldn't take my general out of the center to go save them. So for turns 3, 4, 5, 6, they just stupided against the board edge. They survived, but they didn't do anything, which goes to show that trolls can be kind of shitty if you go out of range. Also, like these footballs, like randomly did a bunch of wounds to my idols, and it was sad. Though I did kill his vermin demon with an idol. BSB charged him. He miscast 4 times. Took 8 hits on a 4+, 2d6 strength 5 and 1d6 strength 3, and he took like 2 wounds from it, which he probably averages like maybe 3 or 4. But then I got a nice hit at the end to kill him, and he failed a leadership check. Anyway, that was despite like breaking this unit fucking turn 2, it was still super hard because like how good some of these heroes are versus me and stuff. But I think so on a purely matchup scale, the Orc one was the best. The Fighty Sylvanels was the best. The 2 Div Masters were ridiculously annoying. and the KOE just kind of didn't do too much. Again, I think I blame myself for some small points, but I think the list is kind of shit too. I didn't like the idle BSB. I think it's too risky. I think you can't really use your idle the way you want to use your idle. And if you get into a bad pairing, like, he just fucking dies. Potentially. He died in like 2 or 3 games? No, did he? He lived. He didn't die as much just because I had to hide him a lot. So, but it was like a 450 point model sitting behind my army doing nothing. So that's the problem with it. If you're not going to go with it and do stuff, and maybe I'm too cautious with my BSB because I know how important it is, because you need it for the trolls, you need it for the cave goblins. That's another thing too. This army is very leadership reliant. So obviously in almost every orc army, the general is very important because he's like the crux of your leadership. But more so even in this list because you need him for the trolls or else they're pretty much screwed. The Gits need him around. The unit itself pretty much needs him around. There's just nothing that, like, doesn't really need him. And the bus is, like, cool. No one really charges it, but it's also super slow. Yeah. I didn't like the Thom Adept. I know some people like this magic setup. I don't know. I think, if we want to go deeper into maybe the Cave Goblins without Relentless were garbage. They suck. You can't do anything cool with them. You can't really chaff them because they're too slow. Sure, there are some moves that would have been nice I could do if I could move 15 inches in a turn, just to maybe throw a Fanatic in a certain spot or something like that. But, yeah, it just wasn't... I didn't like them. Splatters are fine. I mean, to me, it's not really... I don't think it's the fairest. So, like, against the Skaven, they hit the BSB 3 times, and he made all the saves. That happens. I'm not complaining about that, but they had their chance to, like, be epic. I mean, they did some wounds to the Hippo, but, I played 3 people with some form of Druidism, so they could heal. The Empire can heal... And it's only really good with the Steam Tank, which has, T6 1-up save. I didn't really face, like, elite infantry to, like, blast their units with, so they're fine. They're good for their points. It just... I felt like I didn't have the best matchups for them. They were fine in the match. Like, it just... Yeah. You saw the list. And the elves were on me. And the elves, they did good. They killed a tree man. But they were on me turn 2, and then it just didn't matter much at that point. So I think my commentary on this type of list is it's very defensive. It lost almost all the cool playmaking ability that my other list had because I don't have Relentless. I didn't have a Witchcraft's Apprentice to at least do Raven's Wing. I had to keep one of my idols back. I didn't have Vanguarding Goblins or the hero. I'm not that impressed with the Gargantula hero. I'm really not. He's fine. I wouldn't say he's awful. But he's a lot of points, and he's in your heroes, and it just kind of sucks your hero options away because of how many points he is. Like I couldn't even fit, if I wanted, I couldn't even fit something bigger. The Warlord on foot, he's cool, but I don't know. It was a little scary, especially because he's stompable and stuff. And he's not fast enough to, like, really threaten things. I guess that's one thing I missed. Despite my, Iron Orc Warlord needing to be a little bit, he was a leadership bubble, and I complained about that. He still had the chance, if there was really an opening, to, like, charge out and go do something or block someone up or something. It didn't feel as restrictive as, like, I just couldn't. Even if I wanted to be cool and try to make a play, I just couldn't with that guy. So it's fine. If you want to play it and be a little more defensive with it, I'm sure you can make this list work in some way or modify it too, but it just doesn't do, like, enough damage to me. I didn't even love the 8-man troll. Again, this goes on to, like, the broader thing is the best way to play orcs. Okay, so I'll show you a list I have that's, like, out there. And I see 2 paths for for orcs for me right now. Path number one is accepting that the best build for orcs is a little bit more defensive, with maybe Scratapults, maybe Double Master, maybe some monsters, maybe Maggots, maybe not, maybe Trolls, like a more solid battle line, not even battle line, but just a more solid army with some shooting and some good magic to say, alright, it's very tough to come into me because maybe I have spears and whatnot, and play the role of just a tough army to beat. Sort of like the no wings, can't wait to be wings Duran. The guy who scored the most with orcs, he always went up first in pairings. He always took like whatever matchup a hard matchup, or maybe they weren't all super hard, but he took whatever matchup he could get. But basically people got to choose what to send against him, and just play that solid, like, tough army. It's not really my style. I think both as a player, mainly as a player and as the team makeup, I think even my team would prefer that I don't play that way. Sure, I had some cool plays or some nice plays not to lose big, and I could have made some better plays to win a little bigger, but it didn't feel like... I didn't feel like I had as much cool things I could do with this type of style. So if that's the best orc style, then perhaps it's not what I should play. I think that's a fair assessment. And that's kind of the player matching the army type deal. Or the army matching the player, where there's just some styles that, aren't really my thing. It happens. It was like that in other games too. It's weird because I know I need shooting, and sometimes I like shooting, but I also hate shooting. And what I mean by that is I almost feel bad playing shooting, because I've played enough Warhammer and I've played enough other games where I am always pretty anti-shooting. I think it's no fun. I think it's kind of, to be fair, a little mindless sometimes. But at the same time, I understand the value that shooting brings, letting you deal with certain threats, especially, for example, if a noob places a unit in a bad spot, like a fast cav or something, and you have some light arm shootings, maybe some good things to kill it, you can take advantage of it, kill it, maybe cause panic checks, blah, blah, blah. But some armies just can't, you don't punish them, right? You don't have the options to punish people for doing shit like that. And so that's kind of like where the mix comes in of, what do you want in the list and what do you want to do. So I'll show you my crazy idea, which is like, I guess it's not that crazy. But it's an aggro list. So this is a list I created that's just pretty much pure aggro. So we'll go through it real quick. And it's not, there's still things I'm thinking about. So you have the Omen of Pock Warlord that I used to take. He is feral, because he's cheaper than the Iron Orc one, and I already have Dust Forge on the Goblin King. And this list isn't as prone to leadership bubbles, and I'll explain that in a little bit. My only magic is a Thom Adept guy, a Thom with Master with Binding Scroll. I could see this. So I think Binding Scroll can be really good, especially if you're against like occultism, to like drop Binding Scroll, like Grave Calls on a turn, and just say I'm not going to get Grave Calls this turn. I could also see it being the other spell. Now this list probably works fine with the three buffs because it's so fast. H spell is really good because you have a lot of single models, so. Well, rerolls is just good for orcs because they don't have like a source of rerolls, but it's also good because you put it on a unit and you're more likely going to be gangbanging a unit, and you don't need rerolls on an individual model. The same goes for Smite. It has an advantage in that you are going to be going for, like, stopping a unit is better than buffing one of your units. I will agree that the shamanism +1/+1 is really nice for like a spider, but So is minusing something that has 3 of your units fighting it. Goblin King, took him out of my last list, put him back in this list. I think he's just super good. Like, all the things I said negative about him, I was very focused on the negativity, and I think he's too good not to have. He's too fast, he makes too many plays, he makes people react to you. It's a matter of this list is like, just having threats that people have to react to. A Chief, this is something I wanted to try. It's a 290, 4-up save, toughness 5. Yeah, it's not the strongest single model. I mean, it's the same points as a giant, and you could fit a giant in this list. Like, that could be a giant. That's basically it. That could be a giant if you wanted, and you could probably fit a giant with a club if you messed around with some of your other points. But I don't know. He flies. It has the D3 +1. He fights well on the charge. He's not stubborn, but I think flying can be really big. Fly 8. Swift Stride is super fast. I've just been kind of impressed with these like mid-level cowboy flyers. Again, I think this type of list is about going, I'll say all in, but like more so in on the, I'm going to have a lot of threats that you have to deal with. And it's not that different. I mean, it is different from the list I played before. Do I have that list made? Oh, I took over this list to make it. Where I had the double idols, troll, like a small trolls, small iron orcs, boar lord. That one was a little more defensive, probably, but it had like the same idea. Like, I don't think it's that different. Crown of the Cavern King, again, 18-inch BSB. I think is really important with this list, given all your fast things, but also Vanguard package with the Goblin King and the Fanatic unit. Actually, my old style list is 40 points over because of the net change, so I don't like that. Alright, so we'll go to core. Big ass Goblin unit, it's only 46 because I had 5 points. Relentless and 3 Mad Gets, so I think this list is bad without the Relentless. I think Mad Gets suck without Relentless, but also the nets actually make sense points-wise on a unit this big, because sometimes I think nets are really good. And I love them at 1 points per model, but I think that's too expensive at 30-man units. Maybe in 40 points a unit. I think maybe 30 was too good for the 30-man units. I think this unit's kind of the best of both worlds in that you get a unit with a lot of ranks, so it has potential steadfast or just breaking people steadfast. It has 3 fanatics, which usually there's one, and it's vanguardable, so you have the super threat of vanguarding relentless fanatics, which is scary for a lot of people. Like, it really makes people like think differently what they do. And then you have nets, which actually goes really well with the rest of the list, because -1 strength, -1 AP is really nice when you're running like all these single models. Like, if you have a strength 5 unit that just is strength 4 and it has to fight toughness 6 models, or he's toughness 6, or even like other heroes with strength 6 that become strength 5, and so your Goblin King is now a 2-up, 3-up rollable instead of a 2-up. Like, things like that is in my opinion, nets on this unit is really annoying, because they're also really hard to grind them. But another thing about it is it only gives me, and well, we'll go through the rest of those. Then you have the Forest Creepers. They don't have discipline. I think you just have to accept in this list that you hopefully don't have to take too many panic checks. You have to be a little careful that you're not taking too many panic checks, but it's just a lot of points. It's 40 points to put in the discipline. I'll see how it goes. That's something I'd keep my eye on if I need discipline or not. But it's for the running around the mage and the goblin BSB. It's just a bunker that can like move laterally, which is really nice. Again, the idea being your army is so quick and so many threats that people don't have time to go get this. Or you run the heroes out. It uses another chaff piece. I mean, if you really have to, you do what you got to do, right? Back to the magic real quick. The breath weapon's also really good with this army because there's a lot of single models to use it on. And then you're probably stuck with one other spell instead of 2. Ideally, you'd want Hand of Heaven and like Comet, but this list is fast enough that maybe you can get away with just having one of them and just saying, all right, because there is things like preemptive smiting's not the worst. Also, smiting, if you really get aggressive with your Cave Goblins smiting can be really nice on like a single model where you smite them and then they're like, oh shit, I'm going to, throw my fanatics through you. And you're like, oh, this is bad. Stuff like that. 2 chaff units. So this unit, it was put in because I wanted a place for my Lord to go versus a lot of cannons. He obviously could go in the Ed Bashers if I wanted. That's why, and it's a 4th scoring unit. This is the unit I'm probably the most about, but if I drop it, I don't know what to put in core to really make up for it. Because I mean, you're only 30, 46 points over core. So for whatever, you don't really get much for it. You get a chaff unit, which I don't think I need a 4th one. A 3rd chaff unit. It's a weird amount of points. And sure, he's not going to always be. People can shoot this unit and then cannon him. But to be fair, you just got to deal with some of this shit sometimes. Again, there is 2 other cowboys and 2 spiders. You can only shoot so much before this unit's on you. This army's on you, and you can shoot the Lord out of the unit. So that was an option there, just to keep him safe for a little bit and be scoring. Because what probably happens is if you try to shoot him with light arms shooting, at least they'll take some hits, and maybe there's 1 or 2 left, and then you run him behind something, and he runs out by that time. 2 mounted Ed Basher units. So these, if I had to say, I love the character setup. I think it's really strong. I like the character setup how it is. I think the things that bug me the most is, and I love this unit because the ability to Vanguard and just fucking open up the game. It's not even I think creating chaos in Warhammer is very good. Whether it's I put a Gargantula in front of your army and you have to charge it and it's stubborn and you have to deal with it, sort of like a Forsaken one does in Warriors. And just saying, I might lose this unit. It's 550 points, it's not cheap, but I'm going to throw 3 Fanatics at things that are important. I'm going to put them in front of you. I have Steadfast for a long time, potentially. I had Nets, and I'm sitting there, and right behind me is a full army of monsters and single models. Right? It's like this weird, just fucking go button, where it's just all right, I'm going first. Oh, you put something in front of me. I'm going to run throw 3 Fanatics through it, chaff you with some spiders, and put my whole army behind you. Then they all move 8 Swift Stride. Right? That kind of threatening thing. Again, I just want to cause chaos. The Ed Bashers, so obviously I think Orcs lacks good scoring. Because your options outside of core are Ed Bashers and Iron Orcs. And Iron Orcs, I think, in this list are too slow, so you're stuck with mounted Ed Bashers. And in core, I think the Goblins are good. I mean, I could have the 5th scoring if I went non-creepers. But I think that limits the bunker a little bit. And in this type of list, it's probably better to have a mobile bunker and just have my 4 scoring. So this was trying to solve my scoring problem. And I don't know how big of a scoring problem there is and if I need more scoring or less scoring. But I wanted to try these guys because they're 264 points. They're not that expensive. They score, which is great. But they also, sitting there 6 wide or 3 wide. You can run them as a lance formation. They don't get a rank, but whatever. But just 6 wide, chilling on the flank. They're kind of threatening, right? Because they're 2-up save, which is really good for knights, right? If they charge in, they have a strength 7 each and a strength 5 from the mount. Yeah, they're not dread knights. But, I don't know. They're even after the fact they're strength 5 and 1 strength 4. I mean, again, they're not dread knights. I think dread knights are way more expensive for 5 of them. 5 with, lances and stuff. I mean, dread knights are different. They're not dread knights, but they're what orcs have. And they come in a charge, they have 7 strength 7, low agility, but that's why I take the 2-up save guys and not the frenzy ones, because at least they can probably survive some hits. They can be steadfast versus single models for 1 turn because you have a champ. They bring banners to this list, which isn't that bad. It's just they're not bad at clipping things or helping your monsters get clips. Because you can go in with these guys and then you can say, oh, my monster has to clip. even if they're like 3 wide, they can usually pull that off. And it's probably better to maybe be 3 wide just to. But just having now all of a sudden instead of attacking the monster, sure they get to attack 2 up-save guys and they can kill them if they're strong enough. But it's only 6 wounds. Like they'll probably do some damage and stuff. They're pretty good with all the buffs. Again, the -1 strength is nice because it makes people -1 AP, which I think is really actually big in this army because of how many models in the have like 1 up, 2 up, 3 up saves. Yeah, I don't know, and they're pretty good with the nets. Again, the -1 strength there is pretty nice. I just think that they're kind of a cool scoring unit that's fast. And if they charge a monster, maybe they take it out or do some damage to it. It was just like, what else do you buy that's fast enough and scoring? There's nothing else. So, who knows? And then there's 2 spiders. So originally I had 2 idols and a giant without a weapon, but, it's probably not good. Honestly, it's probably shit. It's the same points, but spiders are stubborn, they're faster. Idols, I like idols. I'm starting to like them less in the meta maybe because Res 8 is good. It might be a little overrated because people can just roll 6s. There's a lot of things that need 6s to wound a spider. But an idol doesn't also do that much damage. Like it stomps. Like as much as I think about the crush attack being good, the spider has a D3 +1 wound thing as well. Like it's not like he doesn't have. He has like a built-in crush attack that's not strength 10. But it's poison strength 5. Like, it's not bad versus monsters. It's like almost, it hits probably better against a monster and it's strength 5. So you're probably, with poison, I don't know the math on it. But it's a little worse than a crush attack, but it's not your only attack either. You have 7 other poison attacks in the rider. So, I don't know. This list is, I think, after going through it with you guys, it has potential, but this is the kind of style list I like. And probably the last thing I'll say, because this video is going long, is the transition of, or like you look at this list and you say, okay, I can make a Warriors of the Dark God list. Let's just take this away. It would be something like, because I think this list, I was making it with a friend the other day. I think you can fit this, right? I think this is what the list is. Yeah, you can fit this list in Warriors. And you could say, okay, it has 2 chaff, so does my orcs. And it's not 1-to-1, they're different types of things. My orc chaff is a little more expensive, but it can have Strider, and it can Scout and Vanguard. These don't Vanguard, they just shoot out. Scoring, you could say that the Lust Warriors are probably close to on par with the Boar Riders. Obviously, there's always going to be a difference. These are better on the flanks. They can flee and rally. Strider, the Orcs are faster. They hit a little harder. Again, it's not 1-to-1, but let's just keep it going. You have 2 Elders, which I think are fair to be the Spiders. Obviously, smaller base, better save, but the Spider has more attacks. It is Stubborn, which can be really big. And Strider, which is actually weirdly really good. So yeah, 2 big monsters, and then you say, all right, well, the Forsaken one's where it's going to be a weird one, but the magic is 5 spells here versus 4 spells with a master. More variety of spells here. Probably, I'd say I give the edge in the magic phase slightly to the to the Warriors list because it can have the Comet. It can have Comet and Smite just like the other list. If you take the right manifestations, and then obviously the Sorcerer has 2 really good buffs. So probably a little bit better in Magic on the Warriors. Doesn't need a BSB. You have a Chimera General who's a really nice build. And you have a Herald who is very flexible and strong. And instead of this, you get, more smaller, strong models in the Cowboys, It's just different, I think, and Vanguard tricks and Omen of Apocalypse and Spike a lot. Like, it's a little more spiky damage because, over here you're saying, all right, 6 strength 6, 6 strength 6, whatever, if you give him 6 strength 6, and then this guy's pretty fighty. But Apoc can be like, not 7 strength 9 battle focus. The army has 3 Venom Fangs, which are really potentially strong. And it has the 1-up save hero who has poison. It has a lot of poison in the army too, so it's a lot different there. And then the final thing, you have a Forsaken one, and then who's kind of like messes around and fucks shit up. Is annoying but is random, but also random moves really strong. And in the orc list, you have the Mad Gits who kind of go in there and make crazy things happen. It's a different army for sure. It's different. It's a different style. There's a lot less wounds in the orc warrior list. You might be more prone to just taking a couple wounds on your general, and then you're like, oh, this sucks. My life sucks. But I don't know. That's the kind of the question is this style is similar to that Warriors list I just showed you. And the question is it better at doing it than that Warriors list? Because I don't think the biggest advantage is that it has more units and they're a little faster because, the Chariot doesn't march, the Herald doesn't come with Swift Stride, they don't have WOG, which makes this army super fast, though it's kind of on par with them because the Elders are already move 8, so these would just be... It's just different. It's just different, but at the same time similar. And it's like, well, why play that list if I can play this list? The biggest advantage I think this list has is the Cave Goblins at least provide something interesting and unique and kind of messes with everything. More Vanguard shenanigans, obviously, because I have Vanguarding heroes and stuff like that. So that's where I'm at. If this style of orcs isn't good and it should just be betterly done in another army, then I think there's potential for me to switch armies to something else. Whether I go back to Warriors or I try Dark Elves and maybe do kind of a more shooty dragon type list. But that's for another video. But that's how I'm feeling right now. I might take this kind of list to WTC, at least give it a go. But yeah, thanks for listening.